Uh, Good afternoon, everyone, and I really thank VIPS for inviting me to address in this symposium on Bharatiya knowledge system. Uh, this is my, if someone asks like, why did I even start Hanuman? I would say for this reason, for B case. So I used to call it as I case, and B case makes more sense, right? So, in fact, I was going through the other talks previously, especially Dr. Iyer's talk, and he talked about Everest. So we have named our model, Hanuman model, as Everest. The problem is, world's largest, tallest mountain. It's in India, Nepal, and we call it by an British name, right? So Everest is British name. And I went to China last month, and one of our colleagues had gone on top of the Everest mountain. And they call it by something else. They don't call it as Everest. So they had written some other name. And I was thinking it's some other mountain. I asked like, which mountain is this? They say it's the world's tallest mountain. I said, Mount Everest is tallest mountain. I said, no, there's the same mountain, but we call it from a different name. We don't call it as Everest. And they call it as, it's a complex name in China to, I don't remember it right now. But if you translate it, it translates as Mother Mountain. So they're on the other side of the Mount Everest, we are on the this side. And we call it by an English name, and they call it by their own name. So we never call it as Meru, right? So we always call it as Everest. Yeah, if you look here, he's Professor Simon Johnson. Yesterday he won Nobel Prize for Economics in 2024. He's the professor in MIT. So he was my favorite professor when I was in MIT. So you might be thinking, what is this guy? I went to MIT to study artificial intelligence, and you might be thinking, why is this guy calling an economics professor as his favorite? So I took a course there on macroeconomics, which was kind of mandatory course. I really loved his way of teaching macroeconomics because it's a compulsory course, we had to take it. But later I really loved it. I said, Professor, what are the other courses you are teaching? I will join all the other courses. Then he taught another course called Global Economics and Politics, which was an advanced course. And we took that course. And in one of the course, very interesting thing happened. So he used to call all the top people. So he called India's finance minister to address this course. So not this finance minister, the one who was previous. So he came, and with him had come another person. And the topic was, can India overtake China? So the class had a lot of Indians, a lot of Chinese, and many other people, students. And so there was a big debate on whether India can achieve that kind of growth which China has achieved. Like China has consistently grown 10% GDP for decades. And today they are like 6 times bigger GDP than India, though we have the same population. And a lot of debate happened. And all Indians, we Indians fell back on, oh, we are a democracy, so we can't grow that fast. That was our, alibi for not growing as fast as China. And I saw a super spirited defense from Chinese students saying why they're not democracy and why should they even be a democracy. I was really surprised because in MIT I see a lot of Indian students and Chinese students. Most of the artificial intelligence is mostly Indians and Chinese. But when it comes to Chinese students, they are very passionate about defending their country. They will never be very critical of what China does. Okay, you might call it because they have been watched. I don't feel, because I have seen even people who are born in US, second, generation Chinese, they also defend their country and their policies a lot and their culture a lot, while we are super self-critical. Especially if you go to US, you'll see Indians are super self-critical in talking about ourselves, and we take pride that, we are like self-critical. That was something surprising for us. And later this got me very interested in like why China is like that. So I have been traveling to China a lot. I go to China, I see that like, materialistically super, far ahead than India. You can't see, there is no Indian city which can match any of the Chinese cities. But also I see there is a lot of pride in their culture. And this is where the conversation happened. I asked like, why is this like this? So in China and both in Singapore, they have a very completely different system where up till, high school, you have to study the local, language. And if you do only very well in your local language, you're promoted to the high school and then you can start whatever you want to. But in India, what have we to, do well to go to next class? It's English, right? So we don't study our own language, hardly. I used to take Kannada and think that I'm from Karnataka, so I used to take Kannada and think, okay, it's just for passing, it's not for, doing anything else. So I studied Sanskrit in high school, that also for the exams. I got 147 out of 115 in high school, but I can hardly do anything in Sanskrit because it was just for exam. But there people take it very seriously. They are supposed to excel in their culture, in their language, before they jump and study something like maths or science or whatever. So this basic difference is what I really feel is a different trajectory, how it has taken us and like how it's taking them. And people get surprised when I say that in India you can just study English without having to even study in your own language. They really get surprised. I see all the big scientists, sometimes they can't even speak English, they're publishing papers in Nature. And so you can do that, right? You can do that without knowing English. And we feel that English is the only way through which we can excel. And we are all sitting here mostly because we are all good at English. And the 85% of Indians who are not that good in English are the ones who are sitting outside. So that's how India has, virtually been there. So that's what we wanted to change. Can we do something at the core level to really change this? This is one of the thoughts which really made us say that, what is that technology which can really do that? So that's how generative AI happened. And I feel this is one great technology which can really augment this, because it is both I can say it's both a boon and the opportunity for India, and also a big challenge, because generative AI, to make it very simple, is nothing but English is become the technology today. All the algorithms and all are fine, but what exactly is happening is English has become a technology. Today you don't need to know any language, any coding language. If you just know English and properly ask a proper prompt question, most of the work will be done. So most of the coders, all of you after you graduate, you will see that you don't need to write code. Most of the coding will be done by these models, and you have to just ask them in normal English on what to do that. So English has become a technology by itself. That's how I define large language model, where English has become a technology. All these years, if you had to use computers, you had to write a lot of code, learn languages. Today, you have to just know English. And there are many other languages in which you can do generative AI, but virtually 90% of it is English. So it's another East India company which has come back to us. And how are we going to deal with it is going to be a big challenge and also an opportunity for India. Because I feel if you just let it go like this, virtually everyone has to just fall back on English to do whatever the work. So today I already see a lot of people don't even use Google, they're directly using ChatGPT, right? So we are just asking questions to ChatGPT, it's answering. You don't need to go on a search and a link and then again go and know something. It gives ready-made answers, and anything that is ready-made really clicks very well. That's why today I was saying Apple, and it shows Apple Store, ChatGPT is the #1 downloaded app in the world today. So it's #1 out of nowhere, and it's going to be like this. So what can India do at this juncture? Like, is it even possible to, build something which can take on likes of ChatGPT, which has raised $100 billion in funding. So it's impossible for any Indian company to even raise that kind of, money. So everyone said, why are you even doing this? Why are you building a foundational model? Anyhow, you can't match something like ChatGPT, which comes from San Francisco, where they can raise $100 billion. In India, it's not even possible. But having said that, how is ChatGPT trained? So this question was again, asked by one of the professor to IIM director, that like it all depends on vast data sets. So most of the data sets which are like used by the models are mostly, the Western data sets, right? So ChatGPT might have learned India mostly by reading New York Times articles. So if you ask ChatGPT something about India, it will give that perspective, right? So because it's been trained on that. It's not been trained on all the things which we were talking now. So Professor Iyer's talk was mind-blowing. Like he told so many things about Sanskrit and how, Indian knowledge system has helped West reinvent the science. I'm not saying they invented the science, they just reinvented, because Indians did a lot of work. In the middle, we lost all that. Again, our books went back in different languages to the West, and they reinvented our science. And that's why the numericals are called Hindu-Arabic numericals, though Arabs had nothing to do with our numericals. It was Indians, but because they had translated a few books of India in Arabic or Persia, so their name also got added to that. So it's like, somebody wrote a book and somebody's translated is also added to that. Has it happened with any book? Only with India it happens. People who translated also gets all the credit. Now people are saying, oh, this guy was some Javarmi is like father of geometry. We don't even know whether he is father of geometry or he just took Indian book and then translated it there. So where is the ground truth? Anybody can claim anything. If you go to Google, if you go to Wikipedia, there are hundreds of claims that who is father of this, who is father of that. We claim this is that, but somebody else claims that is, no, he is the guy, not Indians, because there is no mention of Indians anywhere, except for we talking among ourselves. So where is the ground truth? Is there anything like a repository of knowledge where we can get this information? That's also very, very difficult, because most of our books I see are in print. They're not in, online editions, and they're not part of Wikipedia, from where we get recently most of our knowledge, and certainly they're not part of ChatGPT. So if you're not part of Google search, if you're not part of ChatGPT, if you're not part of Wikipedia, so your knowledge is only going to stay with you. Nobody is going to accept it. That's how the world is. We have to accept the truth. So that's where our own foundational models, where we can use our data sets and train them, comes into the, that has been my endeavor. So since it's a company, since I have to build a business model, we have built Hanuman, which is we are launching on 23rd. So we are launching it to the public. So virtually the benchmarks are been very good. It will be in the top 5 in the world. And the great thing about it is it is built by an Indian company, built in India. So we have those models. But what I'm searching for is the repository of Bharatiya knowledge system through which we can train these models. We are even releasing models which are going to be open source. Any of you can just use that and then, fine tune that, train that, all that options will be given. So if we have this repository of knowledge, we can train our models. We can show them the ground truth. Because I will tell one very interesting story. I come from a place called Bellary in Karnataka. It's in Karnataka, but very interestingly, the place is full of Telugu-speaking people. So I speak Telugu, which is my mother tongue. And if you, all of you might have read history. Have you heard about a kingdom called Vijayanagar? How many of you heard about a kingdom called Vijayanagar? How many of you heard about a kingdom called Tughlaq dynasty? Everyone, right? Has anyone not heard about Tughlaqs? We all study Tughlaqs. Same with Karnataka. We all study Tughlaqs. And Tughlaqs, after Tughlaqs, the next chapter in Karnataka's history textbooks is Vijayanagar Empire. Because it's in Karnataka, so we study in bit more detail. I'm sure if you are in Gujarat or in Rajasthan or in Delhi, you would not have studied that deep about, Vijayanagar Empire. Maybe there is a passing mention of it. But in between that, there was another kingdom which is like super popular. But it's not there in our own textbooks. It's called Kingdom of Kampli. So there were two kings. One was Kampili Raya. The other one was his son Kumar Rama. I had not heard about them in our books. Once I went to our village when I was in studying MBBS, and then there was something called, Burrakatha. There is in Telugu, there is this traditional storytelling about our ancient heroes. It's called Burrakatha. It was happening in my village. And they told about some hero called Kumar Rama and Kampali Raya. I thought it's some fictional story, nothing to do with real history, and just I was hearing. And then they talked about Muhammad bin Tughlaq and all. I was like really surprised. How does a fictional story has a real character called Muhammad bin Tughlaq? I come back and later I do some my own research. I find that just 20 kilometers from my place, which is Bellary, there is a very little village called Kampali. It's not even like, we don't even think it's important. It's a very small village. But later I found that was a very big important kingdom in 14th century. And then there were two kings, Kampali Raya and his son Kumar Rama, who virtually defeated Muhammad bin Tughlaq, who was the world's richest king at that time. He was the most powerful king in India. So they virtually defeated him. And then there are legends. And that kingdom got destroyed. It's not mentioned in the history. So why this is very important is I have done a lot of work on that. So I have like huge notes on this kingdom. Why this kingdom was able to defeat, and then what it taught, why is it important also, is something which is not there in many of our history textbooks. So this kingdom were a very small kingdom, surrounded by very large kingdoms. One was Kakatiyas of Warangal. In the south there was Pandyas. And there was another kingdom in Karnataka, it's called Hoysalas, which is also a powerful kingdom. On top of them was, Daulatabad or Yadava kingdom. So there were four big kingdoms. This was a very small kingdom in the middle. So these four kingdoms got defeated by Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Alauddin Khilji. They virtually took all their money, destroyed all the temples. This was the only one who could really go and then, fight. But ultimately they lost the war. Both of them died, and all the important chieftains in their kingdom were taken away to Delhi. They were brought here to Delhi from Bellary, which is in Karnataka. They were converted. So they were converted to Islam, and then two of them were sent back to Karnataka, to place where this kingdom was, to rule on behalf of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. They were two princes. They were Harihara Raya and Bukka. They went back, again reconverted into Hinduism, and then started a dynasty called Vijayanagar, which ruled India southern India for next 250 years. And it was the last most powerful Hindu kingdom in the south. And it was the richest kingdom in the world at its time. So the Hampi, which you might have heard today, was started by these people. So this story, now tell me, have you read it in any of our history books? It's such an important thing because it taught something very important for Vijayanagar. Why did Vijayanagar sustain for 250 years? So there was an interesting thing involved. All these four kingdoms which I mentioned were all very rich, but what they always played was defensive game. So they were like in their forts, and Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Alauddin Khilji used to come and attack them, and they used to just defend themselves, and they used to, or else pay them some money and then send them. They never went offensive, right? When Harihara Raya Bukka analyzed what Kumar Rama had done and this father had done, they realized they were playing both defensive and offensive. So they used to defend themselves, but when option came, they used to go and chase these people, and then offensive war used. So that policy changed in Vijayanagar. That's why they could build such a big kingdom for 250 years. So this story is very important for India when today we are dealing with so much happening around the world, right? We are always playing defensive. We never go offensive. If you see China, they play defensive and offensive. That's the difference. Pakistan always plays offensive. They never do defensive because nobody is attacking them. They're virtually attacking everyone. We are not doing that. So these are the things which come from history, which if we understand our knowledge system truly, we can get it. So that's why I feel Bharatiya knowledge system is so important. I wanted to talk about 4 topics, but half an hour is too small a time to even talk about them. I just talk with one aspect, the history. So my main, what I do is healthcare, and how we have built a futuristic healthcare company using Indian knowledge system should have been my talk, but somehow I got carried away with the history because morning all the history was mentioned. But I will tell you, Vizzhy is one of the most futuristic company in the world. We are bringing something called meta-omics, where we virtually analyze all 9 omics in the body. No other company in the world is doing that. My own example I will tell you, my own meta-omics throws 400 GB data, a billion data points. And I have my own small language model which understands me. If you see here, how do I look and how do I look now? Do I look the same? No, right? Yeah. I have not done anything. All I have done is followed some very traditional things. I do fasting virtually every day. And during these Navaratras, I fasted for 10 days. And it's not religious or spiritual, it's good. All the things we do, the good things we do, which we call yoga or whatever you call it, are all the things which we need to do to keep us healthy, not take medicines or wait for another great drug which will cure diabetes. No drug is going to come to cure diabetes because diabetes is a very complex problem. You can't cure with one drug. The only way you can prevent diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, cancer is through a great lifestyle. That's what I learned after having analyzed all these omics in the world. So my model, what it does me is, it tells me what I should do. I'm very bad in digesting carbohydrates. I virtually avoid them. So I don't eat a lot of rice. I'm from Andhra. I don't eat rice. Imagine that. And it's good. It doesn't matter. Now I'm very healthy and I sleep well and I do exercise. Simple things from here to here. I was 98 kgs at that time. Today I'm 72 kgs. And I have been maintaining this weight since last 5 years. So by just following very few principles which are in Ayurveda, fasting, eat local food. So I used to make fun of this. In Ayurveda, there is a concept, eat only local food. Why should we eat local food? Why can't we eat avocado, right? Which is also very good, quinoa. But you know what happens? The gut we have has a 10 trillion bacteria, which are 10 times the number of cells in our body. And they are the ones which control our digestive system. Indian gut microbiome is totally different from a gut microbiome of an American. If you eat that, do you think it will digest properly? No. Unless we stay there for lots of years, we can't digest those kind of foods. So the best way to digest is to eat local food. That's how that came, but there is no explanation for why it happens. So we think it is some superstition, some people believe it, some people don't believe it. And why fasting is important is another big story, but it's super, super important. Fasting really regenerates the body. It does a lot of things, which is part of our system, right? My dada dadi all used to fast and we used to make fun of them like, Ekadashi mein kyun fasting karte, what is big deal about it? Now I do it. You can call it by Ekadashi or you can call it by any other name. So these are the things which Indian knowledge system is. And that's a huge repository. See, health is the world's biggest challenge. 20% of GDP in the world goes for health only. US will get bankrupt one day if it doesn't control the healthcare costs. And these simple things are what can really help US or any other country in the world to really, bring down their healthcare costs. And there is a lot of information in Indian knowledge system. So this is what I wanted to tell. I could have talked a lot more. Very interesting. And thank you again, VIPS, for calling me to address this. It's great that, an engineering institution is conducting a symposium on Bharatiya knowledge system. I really love this concept where science, technology, and Indian knowledge system all come together. And especially I have to thank Professor P.C. Deshmukh and Vardhan ji, who are like, they invited me, and we have been doing a lot of work, planning to do a lot of work together. It would be great to work with VIPS on whatever is the possibility. Thank you very much. Great day.